shares. Sweet. Share my screen. All right. Can everyone see the PowerPoint slide that I have on there? Can I get a thumbs up that you guys can see it? Sweet. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm excited to be delivering this like first call series to you guys. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and something that I love giving back, to a lot of you guys here in the Cutco community. Because when I first started in the community, so many people were giving back, so many people were providing value for me, and it's what's made my career personally, right? For those of you who don't know me, Alan Hernandez, right? Part of the office, right? AM staff here, top CSP. I'm also the events team coordinator. So I run all the events team programs across the whole division. Basically, what that means is all the trade shows you might see, the festivals, the fairs, a Cutco booth is there. There's a person working that Cutco booth. And so we're in charge of putting up all those events throughout the division. We run 230 events annually. So you'll find us throughout Arizona just randomly at, just different festivals and fairs. And so I'm in charge of all that. I've been doing this for 9 years, guys. Biggest year so far has sold 400 grand. I'm just giving you my stat sheet basically, just so you can get to know me a little bit. But my favorite memory from Cutco, to be honest, guys, is when I started 9 years ago and just being in beginnership mode. Just learning, absorbing, and doing this during college. It was one of the best experiences that I've ever done in my entire life. And so that's why during these calls and during these series, you're going to hear a lot more about my own stories and how I kind of got started with the company, and the things that I've learned as well too along the way that I want to instill upon you guys. My goal is for you not to be overwhelmed and being like, oh my God, there's so much more information. My goal is honestly for something to resonate within you in each of these calls so that you can take it and apply it right away. And so that's why I wanted to start here with the first call of the series, which is the 5 mentalities of a 10K plus summer, and not just 10K sold, but 10K earned. And I think everyone is more than capable of earning more than $10,000 a summer, right? But I wanted to start with this because I think this is, for me, when I first started, I remember 10K being like, oh my God, if I make $10,000 over all my buddies who's working at Starbucks, I'm great. I'll be good. And so this is like the number that kind of spoke to me physically, of just like wanting to make sure that you guys can embody beyond that and, make that income. And just a quick show of hands, who would love to make $10,000 or more this summer just from doing this job, right? Sure, everyone's hands. If you want to make less than that, I don't know why you're here. Joking. But I want to start here because some of you are going to look completely different by the end of this summer. Some of you are going to become more confident. Some of you are going to learn how to talk to adults professionally. You're going to learn how to handle rejection without falling apart. And some of you are going to make more money than you've ever made before. And you're going to realize that you're capable of way more than you thought, like I did, almost 9 years ago. But that doesn't happen just because you're here today, right? So one thing I want to kick off here, for a lot of you, this is your first real sales experience, because Cutco will always give you the opportunity, guys, but it does not do the work for you, right? It does not do the work for you. So if you're taking notes, right, that's the first thing I'll write down is Cutco gives you the opportunity. It does not do the work for you, right? Maybe this is your first real sales job, your first commission-based job. Maybe this is your first time having to like manage your own schedule, make your own phone calls, ask for appointments, present to adults, talk about money, ask for referrals, and then even deal with people saying no. And I think that's exactly why this opportunity is very powerful, because you're not just learning how to sell knives, right? You're learning how to communicate. You're learning how to take responsibility. You're learning how to get coached, and you're learning how to keep going when things feel super uncomfortable. Now, I've been around Cutco for a while. I've sold a lot personally, worked a lot of events, coached a lot of reps as well, too, in my 9 years doing this. And I've gotten seen hundreds and hundreds of people go through this business. And I've seen something over and over again. The reps that win aren't always the most naturally talented. They're not even always like the loudest. They're not the smoothest. They're not even the ones that seem the most confident on day one. A lot of times, the reps that win are the ones that decide early, I'm going to take this seriously because I'm here. I'm going to get coached. I'm going to do the uncomfortable stuff, and I'm going to keep showing up until I get good. And I've also seen on the other side, I've seen reps with a ton of potential just waste of some. Not because they weren't capable, but because they treated this opportunity so casually. And casual effort will always create casual results. So today, I want to talk to you guys about the 5 mentalities that's going to help you make over $10,000 a summer. And this is no hype. There's no like magical secret. This is the mentalities. And for those of you that'll get to know me, I really embody this. And I always start with this because, like you see in the slide here, the job is so freaking simple. You book appointments, you follow the demo, you ask for referrals, and you keep going. Like you could literally just do those 4 steps and you'd be fine. But why do so many people struggle with these 4 steps? And a lot of it has to do with the mentalities that they put on themselves. They don't have the right mentalities to keep doing this job. And I'm not going to sugarcoat you and just say, oh, yeah, this job is very easy. It's simple, but it's not always easy because there is tough challenges, right? There are tough days, right? And it's the people that have that strong mentality that can keep going forward and can create the income that they want. And guys, the lessons that I've learned and the things that I'm about to instill upon you are lessons that I've heard from, top CSPs, top reps, that have sold over $1 million in a given year, right? That I'm learning from to this day. Literally one of my own coaching calls that I physically pay a mentor for 5% of my sales. He talked about adversity today. So even 9 years in this business where I'm still learning about the mentalities, right, within Cutco. So this is how we're going to start. And by the way, this is how these calls are going to work, right? So these workshop calls every single week that I'm running. This is not a passive series, right? The more engaged you are, the more this actually will stick. So my ask and my request of you guys is to take notes, apply immediately, bring energy, right? I mean, nobody's going to care more about your summer than you, right? And make sure that you guys are just actively listening versus passively. And practice the energy of staying present on this call because you took the time to be here. You took the time to listen. You took the time to take notes. So give yourself that present and opportunity. So right now in the chat box, I want to see from you guys here as you type here. What is your goal this summer? This could be a CPO goal. This could be an income goal, right? I just kind of want to see where everybody's headspace is at and with their goal this summer. Right. So put in the chat box what your goal this summer is. Can be a sales goal, it can be a C or it could be an income goal. Right. And obviously distinguish the two. So I don't have to guess. Okay, 35K CPO summer, I'm assuming. 20K CPO summer, I'm assuming. If it's income, tell me otherwise. Awesome, Nate. Awesome, Valentine. Perfect. See what else? Who's else got some CPO goals 20K for the summer? Sweet. Awesome. 10K summer. Is that income or CPO? Hopefully I'm saying this right. Jocelyn? And correct me if I'm wrong. You can unmute yourself and tell me so I don't pronounce it right. And then Chris, 15K summer. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Sweet, guys. So everything that you guys wrote down, what I love about this is because obviously this for most of you, this is your first summer here. Some of you might have already done this before, and that's great. But for most of you, this is your first summer here. And so whether you typed 5 grand, 10 grand, 15, 20 grand or more, I want you to understand something. Your goal is not impressive unless your behavior matches it. Right? Your goal is not impressive unless your behavior matches it. And your behavior is decided by what you tell yourself when no one is watching. We're actually going to come back to that voice and mentality 4. Right. So as we begin, we'll kick off the first mentality, guys. Mentality number 1. This is one of the things that I first learned in this business, right? It's take full ownership. What does full ownership mean? Full ownership means you stop asking, whose fault is this? And you start asking, what am I going to do about it? Right? Don't ask whose fault it is. Ask, what are you going to do about it? There's a difference between Tony Robbins, if you guys don't know who he is, powerful speaker, right? One of my greatest influences in my early Cutco days for sure. Talks about the difference between fault and responsibility. It might not always be your fault, but it is always your responsibility. Right. And so what I'll expand upon that. So Cutco will always give you 1,000 things that you could blame. People aren't answering, people are canceling, the customers are weird, some people are ghosting me, my demos are going to go bad. It's going to happen. And so the question is not, hey, are things going to go wrong? They will. The question is, who do you become when they do? And I'll say that again. The question is, who do you become when they do? Because an average rep is going to have a reason for everything. Oh, sorry, Danny, my list is bad. No one's answering. My customers are weird. I'm too busy. And some of those things might always feel true, but being right about your excuse, that's not going to move your business forward, is it? No. See, ownership is taking whatever happened and turning it into an action. I'll give you an example. Instead of saying, oh, just my list is just, it sucks. The ownership version of that rep would say, hey, my list isn't looking great. I need to add 50 more names. I'm going to go to Facebook right now and look up for 50 more names. Instead of, no one's answering. The ownership rep would say, you know what? Maybe I just need to call at better times and just make more phone calls and see the volume of that. Instead of like, oh, my demo just sucked. I didn't close because it was the customer's fault. The ownership would say, I just need to role play the close section a little bit more to get better at that. I don't think Danny even, I don't know if Danny's in the room, but I don't think Danny or anyone really knows this. But I remember when my first day that I got my kit, my sample kit, and I had my first appointment the next day. I literally sat down, unrolled all my stuff, had my manual, which back then, guys, was paper manual, and I just practiced in front of a mirror just by myself. And I always think to that moment because I'm like, oh man, like I took ownership from the very beginning. Right? Was I perfect? No. Right? I'm very clear. Like clearly, throughout the years, I definitely would, sometimes blame other things and blame other people. But I learned at very very young that the more I take ownership of my results, the better my results will be. Ownership will always mean your response is your responsibility. You do not control if someone answers. You can control how many calls you make. You do not control if someone, buys, but you can control how prepared you are. But the second you give away your responsibility, you're giving away your power. Right? The second you give away responsibility, you give away your power. And this is true in every aspect of your freaking life, by the way. So always take responsibility. See, your manager can help you, your team can encourage you, I can help you, I have these workshops, your office can train you, but nobody can want your summer for you, right? No one can want your summer for you. And so, real quick in the chat, I'm curious, right? What's an excuse that either you recently heard or you've said so yourself? What's an excuse that you have said so yourself about a situation? It could be anything. Just curious to see what's in the chat that pops up here. And be honest. And this can be personal, this can be business, right? No one answers. Yeah, no one's answering. I'm not getting a lot of answers. Let's see who else has the no one answers. It's funny, you guys, everybody feels like, oh man, this is my own experience, but clearly this is everyone's experience. All right. So Leslie Nate said not getting a lot of answers. I'm too shy to do this. Hey, that's a good one too. Calling takes a lot of time. Not wrong there. All right. It's funny because people's excuses can match right across everywhere. And whatever excuse, by the way, you just type, think about how you can turn that into action. Right. So ownership is not beating yourself up. Ownership is saying, hey, I have power here. I can do something about this. Because if you don't own your summer, you're going to spend the whole summer explaining why it didn't happen. Right? Why it didn't happen. And you know what's funny, Chris? I sometimes tell myself that to this day. I'm not skilled enough to sell $1 million. I'm not skilled enough to sell 750. Right? That doesn't go away. But I think the ownership rep takes that and says, you know what? Maybe I'm not skilled enough yet, but I'm going to get there. So Again, ownership does not mean you figure everything out alone. This is where sometimes people mess up. Ownership just means you take responsibility for getting better. And actually, one of the fastest ways to get better is to actually let people coach you. So that's the next mentality. Coachable. That's the second mentality, being coachable. I honestly I pride myself in being coachable since a very young age. I was in sports, did soccer, right? And all my coaches always said the same thing. He's very coachable. He sucks at soccer, but he's very coachable. And I always heard that. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm a coachable person. But I honestly do believe this is a hidden skill set that a lot of people don't tap into. If you have this skill set, this mentality, you're going to go far in life. See, when you're new, like some of you guys are, speed matters. You don't need to figure everything out the hard way because your manager has taught you the demo. Your office has already trained reps before, right? People around you know what works, but you only benefit from that if you're coachable. So being on this call right now is already a sign telling me, hey, I'm coachable and I'm willing to learn. Right? Coachability is not just being nice. It's not nodding your head and going back and doing the exact same thing. See, that's not coachability. That's just hearing words. Coachability means three things. One, if you're writing stuff down, you ask for feedback. Right? If you're writing stuff down, you ask for feedback. Two, you receive feedback without getting defensive. And then three, you actually apply it. Right? You actually apply it. So ask for feedback, receive feedback, apply. Because if your behavior doesn't change, you weren't coached, you were just entertained. Right? You're like, oh, that looks good. And then you close your book and you go back to doing exactly what you were doing before. See, you guys are new. You're supposed to have rough edges. Your intro might sound awkward. You might sound like a freaking robot when you do this for your mom and dad or, your uncle and aunt that you haven't talked to in 7 years, right? Your clothes might be soft. Your phone approach might sound nervous. That's totally fine. See, the problem is not having weak spots. The problem is protecting them. So don't protect your weakness, expose it. Ask your manager, like, hey, what am I doing that's costing me closing opportunities? Don't just keep doing the same thing. Right? The question alone can change your whole summer. Right? If you avoid scripts, if you avoid, calling your manager and saying communication, then you're going to just stay bad longer. If you avoid questions, you just stay confused longer. See, embarrassment, guys, that's expensive. Right? Just own it and be coachable. See, the reps that I get most excited about are the ones who apply coaching fast. Talent's nice. I've seen a lot of people, I've seen a lot of talented reps. There were so many talented reps when I first started that were way more talented than me. But the reason I'm still here is honestly, I just did what I was told. I listened to the people around me and I did what I was told. And I think that's what attributes to my success here in the business. See, coachability compounds constantly. So in the chat box, guys, what's one part of the demo or job that you want to get better at? Right? Just put it on blast and see. Because you have to bring awareness to it if we're going to start anywhere. Referrals. Great. Lead generation. Yup. Closing. Love it. Memorizing the demo so it's easier to carry as a conversation, more referrals and selling bigger sets, rapport building, selling tactics. Sweet. Yeah, lots of good stuff here, guys. Right? If you can keep posting, guys, honestly, love this. Memorizing the approaches. Mm-hmm. Yep, Leslie. Let's see how far you can get in your new customer approach. Not right now. Later. So yeah, coachability, guys. So ownership and coachability help you get better. But then we have to actually talk about the actual customer. See, one of the big reasons why when I see a new rep and their success in the company or success in the summer in itself is their actual energy when they go into a demo, right? And so number three, third mentality is called customer-centric empathy, right? I know it's a mouthful, but basically what it means is like, can you make your demo about your customer, not about you? I know it's backwards because you're like, wait a minute, but Alan, we share our goals, we share our dreams and wishes, with our customer. How is it not about us? I understand, but what is the reason why you're sharing your goals? right? The reason why you're sharing your goals is that it establishes trust with the customer and say, hey, I'm an actual person, not just a random knife salesperson out here. Now let's talk about your kitchen and what we can do. See, a lot of new reps, including myself, right? I felt weird about this. I remember I felt weird, doing my first demo and doing my first sales. And by the way, show of hands, who felt weird doing their first demo ever, right? It's okay. We're not, no one's shaming you, all right? You're not going to be this like sales professional out of the womb. It's okay. But most of the time, the reason is because you're thinking too much about yourself. Do I sound awkward? Are they judging me? What if they say no? What if I mess up? Right? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I'm not closing right? And notice a common theme. It's just me, 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 me. See, the demo, it's not a speech, it's a conversation with knives in it. So customer centric empathy means you shift from how am I being perceived to how can I help this person make a good decision? And some of you might be thinking, well, Alan, they're only doing the demo because I asked them to, right? Because they want to hear my scholarship. That might be the initial reason first, but it's never the reason why they'll actually get a whole $3,000, $2,000 set. And even if it might be that 1% chance, doing this 9 years, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to and customers I've talked to that say, oh, yeah, I bought this from my son, college friends thing 18 years ago, and I still have it. And it was the best decision that I've ever made. So have confidence that you A are selling a good product and B you're truly helping them out. Like truly. Even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment, I guarantee you they're gonna have their knives longer than you're gonna have that little paycheck you got from the sale that you got. Guaranteed. See, bad sales is pushing someone into something that just doesn't really make sense for them. Good sales is helping someone clearly see what does make sense for them. Bad sales is just talking at people. Good sales is getting curious. Right? Sometimes I don't want to be pushy is just fear dressed up as empathy. See, real customer empathy means you care enough to guide them. You care enough to ask good questions. You care enough to recommend what actually fits in their kitchen. So for those of you who don't know, Christian Hogue, by the way, who started in this company about 2 years ago, he's still a student to this day down in Florida. He sold 500 grand last year purely off of demos. And I asked him, what was the difference? Because I never sold 500 grand off of demos. The most I've ever sold off of demos is like 150, 200, right? Now I have events and I have other layers that help support my business and I don't do demos anymore. But I was so curious from someone who was selling at such a high level in purely demos. I'm like, I want to like, how do you do it? And it's so interesting because he adopted the mentality of a customer service mindset from the very get go. He's like, hey, let's talk about your knives at home. Let's talk about your cook pots and pans at home. And he approached it. He did the demo script, but he approached it from a space of, hey, your knives are struggling. You're cooking every single day. You love to cook and you're cooking with these knives. Let's find something that makes the most sense for you. And he would ask questions to get curious on the customer's thought patterns, what they thought about their knives, right? And what made sense for them. Your confidence should always come from your care for the customer, not your need for the sale. Your confidence should come from your care for the customer, not your need for the sale. See, if your confidence comes from needing the sale, it's just going to get weird and tense. Trust me, from someone that's been there before. If your confidence comes from caring about the customer and just genuinely being curious, that's the key word there that I want you guys to make note of and try to embody is being curious with the customer and being calm. You're gonna arrive to the solution. Right. And that's when you actually believe you're helping the customers, this next mentality actually becomes so much easier because you stop clinging to every single appointment like it's life or death. So that brings me to the next one. Abundance versus scarcity. Right. By the way, stopping point right there, guys. If you have any questions to me directly about mentality, sales, even objections you're getting at, in your demos, Feel free to write them down. And at the end of this, we're going to offer a little Q&A as well too. So to make sure you guys have that, in the back of your mind here. But abundance versus scarcity. So the fourth mentality that I've learned in this business that's very, very important is abundance. And here's what I want you to hear first. Abundance is not about your customers. It's about you. It's the voice in your head between phone calls, between demos, after a no, after a bad day behind the phones or just in general, after cancellation. You see, that voice runs your summer. Scarcity is always going to sound like this. I have to close this one. If they say no, I'm done. I can't lose this appointment. I just can't lose this appointment. What if no one buys? Like, what if no one wants to see me? What if no one answers? Abundance, the opposite sounds like this. There's more people to call. Hey, if this one doesn't go well, the next one might. At least I learned something from this, no? I always have more chances. Who cares? Who's next? All right, same situation, two completely different reps. The scarcity rep will walk into a demo tight, desperate, hoping, performing, and the customer always feels that. And I've been there before, guys, where I'm just like, I gotta close this. And the customer is just like, all right, dude, calm down. I'm not telling him that, but that's just the energy that's given off, right? I think I heard this from Tony Robbins too. Like, neediness is creepiness, right? Neediness is creepiness. If your customer feels that neediness, it's going to repel them, right? The abundance rep walks into the demo calm, curious, helpful, steady. They ask better questions. They handle objections like it's no big deal. And they make the next call clean because they don't drag the last one with them. They're always seeking opportunity. They always know that opportunity is always around. And this is hard because a lot of times some people grow up their whole lives in the scarcity mode, in the fight or flight response. When obviously 99% of the time, guys, we're not in danger, right? We're not in danger, right? No one's dying, right? The customer just said no. We move on. That's it. See, scarcity will make you small. Abundance makes you steady. A no is not a personal attack. Cancellation is not the universe rejecting you or saying, oh, this isn't for me. I can't even count on my hand how many, way more. I can't even count of how many people have said no or have canceled on me. I've had people fall asleep in my demos, by the way, once or twice. I can count on my hand on that one. But a bad demo is not proof that I'm bad at this, right? And neither should you. It's just data. That's it. That's all. You learn from it and you keep going. Right? Scarcity says this one appointment has to work. Abundance will say, I'm going to keep reworking the process. Right? So always focus on abundance. See, one no will not break you. One yes will not save you. Your summer is built on volume, learning, and how fast you bounce back. For those of you who are in the East Valley District team group meet chat, whatever, Mike Wood actually posted something on there that said, hey, I had 6 appointments today, 5 canceled, still hopping on the phones and did 5, 5 before, 5 after. Right. That's the kind of mentality, guys, that you want to adopt, where it's like you don't let the bad day affect your actions. You just say, cool, what's the next one? It's okay to be like, oh, that sucks. But it doesn't mean like, all right, well, I guess this is over. I guess I'm just going to take the day off and just chill and not do anything. Right. That's just not how it works. You just keep doing the actions. Right. Keep doing the actions and write this down, guys. Like, I'm not going to let one bad call or one bad demo run my week. Write that one phrase down and look at it every single time. I guarantee you when you make that next call, it's going to get you through that summer. I remember I have one sentence that I wrote down recently that's been really sticking with me is one bad weekend doesn't make a bad week. One bad week doesn't make a bad month. And one bad month does not make a bad campaign or bad summer. Right. And just reminding myself of that is just one of the biggest things that I've learned to embrace the abundance. Abundance keeps you moving, but movement is not enough. If you guys want to earn $10,000 or more this summer, you need one more mentality. And honestly, this is the one that most people like to avoid. And this is very common. Adversity. And specifically, this mentality, I actually wrote it down as create adversity. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, I don't want adversity. I want things to be easy. See, most people spend their lives trying to avoid hard things. They avoid rejection, they avoid embarrassment, they avoid feedback, they avoid anything new that makes them uncomfortable. But growth doesn't come from avoiding hard things. Growth only comes from facing hard things on purpose. Right? For those of you who might work out, this is a good analogy. If you were to just lift 5-pound dumbbells every single time you went to the gym, are you going to grow your muscles? No, absolutely not. What do you need to do? Increase the weight, increase the weight, increase the weight, right? Increasing to create adversity for your muscles. The same thing with life. Creating adversity means you intentionally put yourself in situations that force you to grow. You don't wait for the job to get hard. You choose hard things before life forces hard things on you. And I'll repeat that again. You choose hard things before life forces hard things on you. And I can't stress enough how much this mentality can really impact your life, guys. This is why some of the top people in the world, right, the ones that earn the most, they're constantly putting themselves in hard situations, right? I've done a marathon in my life. I've done many pushes as well too in my life as well. And I will say that the marathon and then going after $100,000 for SC2 push, for those of you who don't know, it's a summer conference contest that you go after for like 18 days and see how much you can sell. It's never been done before in Rising Sun. And for 3 years in a row, I went after $100,000. And the first 2 years I failed and only sold 70 instead of 80. In the third year, I achieved it. And putting myself in that situation of going after a difficult thing just stretches my belief of what's possible. See, in Cutco, that looks like making more calls that feels comfortable. It might mean calling the person you're nervous to call, right? Or asking for referrals, even when the demo wasn't perfect. Or role playing your weakest section, right? Booking more appointments than you think you can handle. See, most people want confidence before they can act. See, that's backwards. See, confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is proof you collect. Confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is proof you collect. You don't get confident at phone calls by just thinking about phone calls. You get confident by what? By making them. Right? You don't get confident by asking for referrals or by waiting until it feels natural. You get confident by asking it while it still feels awkward. You do the uncomfortable thing, you survive it, you do it again. You get sharper, and eventually what used to intimidate you now becomes normal. The uncomfortable thing is usually the thing that you need to do. The call you're avoiding, the question you're scared to ask, the feedback you don't want to hear, the conversation you don't want to have, the role play you're embarrassed to do, that is where growth lives. So before you go to sleep tonight, I want you guys to know the uncomfortable action that you're going to take tomorrow, not vaguely, but specifically. So I want to bring all this together. The 5 mentalities to earn $10,000 or more this summer. Take full ownership, be fully coachable, practice customer-centric empathy, operate with abundance, and create adversity. These aren't just sales mentalities. They're a big component of sales, but they are life mentalities. And that's why this summer is it's bigger than Cutco. So some of you might stick around very long time. Some of you might stick around for just a summer. Who knows? But I hope that you take the lessons you learn within this job and this business to wherever you end up going. Because yes, the money matters. Yes, it's great. But who you become while chasing that goal matters way more. Way more. 10K summer, earning 10K in a summer is not built in one huge moment. It's built in the small moments. 100 small decisions where you decide, I'm going to go after this, or I'm going to make that call, or you know what? I'm going to get more people on my list. So here's your challenge. Don't leave this call and say, all right, that was good. Close your notebook and be like, all right, let's move on with my life, right? That does nothing. Pick something here and live it this week, right? Maybe for you, it's ownership. Maybe it's coachability. Maybe it's customer empathy. Maybe abundance. Maybe creating adversity. Whatever it is, just pick one. All right. So curious for you guys in the mentality. Ignore this actually right now. For these five mentalities: full ownership, coachable, customer centric empathy, abundance mindset, create adversity. What's one mentality that you guys can write down in the chat that you said, you know what? This is something that I want to work on this week, and put it in the chat. I want to see what it is. What resonated with you? What stood out to you? What made you say, you know what? I need to do that. Take full ownership. Love it. Thank you, Nate. Valentine said, create adversity. Abundance mindset. Thank you, Chris. What else? Let's get everybody on here. Abundance mindset. Abundance mindset. Love it. Customer centric empathy and creating adversity really stood out to me. Any advice in combining the two? Oh, love it. That's a really good question, Ralph. We can answer that question in the Q&A section. Elizabeth, customer centric empathy. Yep. Great. Love to hear all this. And abundance mindset. Ooh, abundance mindset won a lot. All right. So your homework, right? Homework. I call it homework. Obviously, you choose to do it. I'm not going to grade you. I'm not a Cutco teacher or anything like that, but highly encourage you do. This is, I mean, I put questions into this because I think it's going to really benefit you guys. And I think it's going to allow you to get focused on what you need to do. Basically, I want you to do four things. One, just write down your exact summer goal, like verbatim exact. If you're not clear on what it is yet, write it down, right, and work on that. Number two, write down the inner voice that's going to try to talk you out of it and what you're going to tell it back. So a better way to phrase that question, basically, if you're confused on it, is basically what's the biggest thing that's going to hold you back from hitting that goal? Because that's the inner voice. Okay, so write down your goal. What's the biggest thing that's going to hold you back from hitting that goal? Ask your manager one specific question on how you can improve. And do one thing this week that scarcity is telling you to skip. That's it. Those four things. Very simple, very easy. And the next call next week, guys, when we meet again, love to see all of you and more. I would love to hear your feedback on those four, like what you did that was scary. What was the one question you asked to improve? And what was the inner voice that was to try to talk you out of that summer goal that you're going after? Just pick one of those. I'll end with this. Your summer won't be defined by what you say you want. It'll be defined by what you repeatedly do when it gets uncomfortable. Right? Your summer will not be defined by what you say you want. It will be defined by what you repeatedly do when it gets uncomfortable. Cool. And with that, guys, we're going to open up to some Q&A. And obviously, there's no Q&A. We'll just go straight into the phone jam, right? And we'll, rock the phones here and do something a little scary. But we'll open up to Q&A here. If you guys can ask me any questions you want. It could be on this topic. It can be not. It can be on anything you guys have on your mind. So basically, my role for you guys is doing this 9 years. I want to help you and walk you through any objections, anything mentality that you're facing, any questions you might have, doing this 9 years, right? Doesn't matter. Like, no questions off the table. All I ask though, if you're doing objections, like ask yourself, hey, if I share this objection with Alan, is this an objection that's a one-off, or it's like a really weird thing that I probably will never hear again, or is this an actual common objection that I'm getting? I always start with that because I've heard some really weird objections, and I'm like, you don't need to worry about that because you're never going to get that ever again. So with that, we'll open up the Q&A. If there's no Q&A, we'll just go into the phone jam, and I'll let you guys hit the phones. So any questions?
Just maybe some advice on the question I asked earlier.
Yeah. So basically yours was let me pull it up again. It was combining the creating adversity and customer centric empathy, right?
Yeah.
So tell me what you want to create with that. Like what are you trying to accomplish by combining those two things? And do they need to be combined?
I mean, they maybe they don't need to, but maybe there's a way to create adversity that I grow from while
Mm-hmm.
also growing in my empathy towards customers and just like growing in that customer service mindset.
Mm. I think my suggestion to you, Ralph, would be the next time you do a demo, right? And whatever result ends up happening from it, I would reflect after you leave, reflect back on the demo and ask myself the question, how was my energy? What was my state when I entered that demo? Was it from a place of neediness or was I a place of trying to help and figure out what makes sense for their kitchen? And the reason why that also creates adversity is because I guarantee you probably have never reflected back on a demo you've done before in depth like that. And that's a muscle in of itself that if you continue to grow, or if you keep reflecting back on your interactions, you get better. Right now, there's a difference between reflection and dwelling. See, dwelling is, oh my God, this demo sucks. This customer sucks. Screw them, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right. And you're attaching a lot of emotion behind it versus reflection is like a place of stoicism of just, hey, what happened? What are the facts? What was I feeling during that interaction? And you're not coming at it from emotion or a place of judgment or shame or anything. It's just like, this is what happened. Right. What could I have done better? And what did I do good? In that demo. And I think that's how you're going to increase the adversity because that's something you've never done before. And then you're also reflecting back on being empathetic with the customers and working with them versus against them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Right. Love that question, Ralph. What else? What else?
My question is, when I call the customers, I really do care about people and I do care about what they're up to. And I'm always like that with my friends and the people I have called and sold Cutco to and did demos with. When I'm calling them back to see how they're doing, in the back of my head, I'm thinking they're thinking, well, she doesn't really care about me. All she's going to do is just end up wanting to sell me something. How do you get
Mm,
that out of my head? Because I've never been like that. So I love people. I care about them. But I feel like in the back, oh, that's why she called me back. I know. What do
mm.
you do with that mindset?
So whenever you hear that voice, it's funny because we tend to project that voice onto our customers. We tend to think, oh, because I'm thinking this, then clearly they must be thinking that as well too, right? And it's common. This is very common with a lot of people, when it comes to doing something like making phone calls, right? Even to this day, when I'm calling my own customers that have already bought from me thousands and thousands of dollars with Cutco, I'm like, oh man, are they just going to think I'm calling them just because I want something? Right. And I think at the end of the day, as long as your intention and you truly ask yourself, okay, yes, I'm calling them to update them on Cutco, whatever, but I also want to catch up with them. They're cool people, right? I want to see how they're doing. Though both can be true at the same time, can it not? Can,
Okay,
right?
I get to do that. Yes. How?
Mm-hmm. And I'm anything I say, by the way, Cherry, it's not like a magic solution of like just erase it in your mind. Like it's not as simple as that. My encouragement and challenge to you is to reflect. Okay, well, why is that thought happening? Where does this thought come from? Right? That's the better question I would ask. Not how do I get rid of it? It's just like, well, where is it coming from? Get curious, explore that, right? Because if you get curious and expose where that thought is coming from, you can begin to realize whether it's true or it's not true. And I guarantee you, probably 99% of the time, it's going to be, oh, this is coming from a place that's false. It's not a true statement, right? So that would be my encouragement to you is to explore, okay, where is this coming from? Why does this thought exist in the first place? So hopefully that helps, right? But there's no
Thank
magic
you.
solution to this. So great question, though. Very great question. I guarantee you a lot of people, share that same thing. So what else, guys? We can dive into the phone jam here.
So, Alan, real quick, I want to ask a question. I think it's gonna help for future videos too. I want to knock this out. I remember being a rep at like $10,000, and I remember my first summer getting really good at the demo and stuff. And then when I was able to transition that into the fall team, because at 15, 20K, that's like when the show team became really fun, right? But I remember like how cool that fall and that winter transition was, like from doing that. So my question would be like, how do you tie in that 10 to 30K level like into the show team before fall comes around? How do you make that exciting?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Nick, is how do I maximize my sales so that I'm at like 30 grand, 40 grand entering the fall going into the show team because that's when it gets really good. Is that the right question I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
How do you promote that to excite them?
To your customers or to yourself?
Well, to excite like people that are just starting out, like who
Oh,
are like between 10 and 30K, you know?
okay, okay. I got you. I got you. So
Like how do you excite the show team, you know?
great
Because
question.
like as a new rep, it was really fun in the fall. But
Yeah.
how do you like do that in the summer?
Well, I'll show you because clearly everybody on here is between 10 and 30 grand right now as well, too.
Well,
Um,
even when they get there.
So the biggest thing is obviously talking from your personal experience. So like for you guys, for example, to let you guys know, I mean, the 9 years ago, the show team, that I didn't know what it was honestly until I hit 20 grand in sales. And then my manager was like, "Hey, you should drive from Tucson to Phoenix to go to this show team meeting in the middle of a school day." And I'm like, I'm in school." And he's like, "Trust me, dude, you're gonna want to go to this." All right. I didn't like school anyway, so I was like, this gives me an excuse to leave. So so I left, showed up, and I just remember sitting in that chair in this house, Jason Jeffrey's house, and looking around the room, and I'm like, oh my God, all these guys are like 3 million, 4 million in career sales. I'm just at 20 grand. All these guys are doing this for a living. This is a beautiful home. I'm like, oh shoot, like this is like a legit opportunity, is literally what I first thought. And I was very intimidated at first, but I'm so glad that I chose to do that and be in that room full of those people because it exposed me to a different way to think and a different way to view, Cutco, view how I'm selling, and even just a different path than what I thought I was going to do in the first place. Now, in that moment, I didn't go, you know what? I'm going to be a Cutco sales professional. I'm going to sell knives for a living. 9 years later, I'm going to do this and it's going to pay for everything. No, but I remember sitting there thinking, like, I want to be in this room. These people in front of me clearly know what they're doing. They have their life figured out. They have great mentalities that I love and inspire to be. I'm in the right room and I want to be in this room as often as I possibly can. And so for me, the events team was that room. And that's why I chose to stay there. Right. And I learned and I grew. And there was a zero training program, by the way. They literally just threw me a script and said, get out there and try to sell. And that was very difficult and hard. Because you can't use your script, obviously. And when you're at a booth, they're gonna walk away and be like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. So I had to memorize that approach and then just practice and learn on the fly and be thrown into the fire. Luckily now I run the training program for all the new reps here. And so basically our goal is to take the people who want to level up their sales for the fall, and be able to have more layers onto their business. Might not be right away, right? It took me like a year or two to be able to get really good at events, but it was a nice additional layer to get myself more customers at the booth and more customers in my CRM and my ROR as well. And so that'd be the biggest thing that I would say, Nick, is tell your personal story, like I did. And anyone in this room that sells, I think 15 grand is our level. Once you get to 15K, you automatically qualify for our events team training, which I run at the end of the summer. And that's a great opportunity for you to get exposed to, all right, what is this room? What is the new opportunity? Right? I can do something besides just demos, right? There are different layers in this business that the more you sell, the more you get exposed to. So, but my biggest advice is sell as much as you possibly can in the summer to give you the best opportunity to be exposed to those higher levels. So great question, Nick. Gave me an opportunity to pitch the events team.
There you go. Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Got time for maybe one or two more. If not, we'll just dive into the phone jam here. Going once, twice, and sweet. Awesome, guys. So speaking on abundance mentality, doing something scary or whatever it is you feel about the phones, we're gonna hop on the phones right now, right? Book up some demos and some appointments. I'd love for you guys to share in the chat anytime you get a demo. Back when I was a new rep, I mean, we didn't have these like apps, and I mean, I sound really old saying that, but we didn't have these apps and like these phone trackers. We literally just had a pen and paper, and we would just mark every time we booked a demo, and we would just yell boom money into the chat to be able to book the appointments. But strongly encourage you, right? Make phone calls, right? Type in the chat whenever you book one, and we're gonna get started. So appreciate you guys, and can't wait to see you guys next week. Of
Thanks, Alan.
course. Right. Gonna share sound. I want to stop the recording too.